Hi, this is Yoony, and this is my second podcast episode. Today, I will be talking about how Singapore is containing the virus during phase 2 with several government enforced methods and also my perspective on each one. I noticed that Singapore's methods of containing the virus were more advanced and quite different from my other home, South Korea, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to talk about it and also spread awareness on how other countries could take the next step into containing COVID-19. So in Singapore, the phase of the coronavirus is split into 3. So after the first outbreak of the virus, phase 1 began, where most businesses and outdoor activities were shut down and no social gatherings were allowed. Phase 2 began on June 19th, which was when social gatherings with a maximum of 5 people were allowed. Most shops opened and businesses were allowed to continue again. So basically, right now is phase 2. Phase 3 will probably begin after a vaccine is created or when there are 0 virus cases for at least 2 weeks. So, for example, New Zealand right now would be considered in phase 3 since they don't have any virus cases. So currently, infection rates are still increasing in Singapore, but what allows for us to stay in phase 2 safely are the restrictions and regulations enforced by the government. First one I'd like to talk about is, of course, wearing a mask. Like many other countries, wearing a mask when going out is mandatory. Here, if you don't wear a mask, you'd probably get fined. But what makes Singapore different from other countries, however, is the fact that they require even more. The biggest difference, I believe, is Singapore's safe entry system. This is a system created by the government, I believe, after phase 2 to keep everybody more safe. So when people get on cabs, enter shopping malls, and go to restaurants, everybody is required to scan a QR code specific to that shop, which then asks for the person's IC number and phone number. The system is actually used for both checking in and checking out. The reason why this is so effective is because it allows for the government to easily contact trace. I'm sure you heard about contact tracing, but for example, let's say that a person that is infected with COVID-19 visited a certain restaurant. After that person finds out that they're infected, it'd be hard to track down who else got the virus from that person. So the safe entry system allows for the government to track who was at the restaurant at the same time, then contact them to inform them to get tested for the virus. And not only that, the safe entry system allows for the government to track down where the people that were near the infected person went after, and so on. It's basically a cycle. I believe that this system is very intelligent and pretty convenient for me, but I do believe that there are some cons for some people. When I visited a clinic last Sunday, I saw elderlies that struggled to understand the safe entry system, and they weren't sure how to scan a QR code. I felt very bad, but luckily there were assistants to help them. Thinking that those elderlies were my grandparents, I thought that it'd be a good idea to have an alternate method for elderlies or people who struggle with technology. Technology is definitely hard for some people, but the safe entry system is the only way and best way, I believe, that the government can easily contain the virus, so I do think it is necessary. But young people like me who are familiar with technology should definitely help the people who struggle. Next, I'd like to talk about Singapore's regulations and restrictions and also their strictness. While this may seem negative for some people, this is what keeps the people in Singapore more responsible as civilians and also safe as well. For example, there are several apps where people can report others who aren't socially distancing themselves or those who aren't wearing masks. Also, let's say that more than 5 people were hanging out, and even worse, without masks, then it is likely that police officers will come and investigate or simply give them a warning. Worst case scenario, you could pay a very big fine or have to face other consequences like getting deported. Lastly, what keeps Singapore even safer is its constant travel restrictions. I believe that this is very necessary for other countries too until the virus is gone. Singapore hasn't eased their traveling restrictions since the virus began, so basically they're not allowing for short-term visitors to come in the country and is making it difficult for even people living here to go to another country then come back. So that is why I haven't been able to go back to South Korea this summer, and I'm honestly not so sure if I can go for winter break either. Oh, and also a 2-week quarantine is a must if a permanent resident comes back to Singapore. So, like this, Singapore is gradually containing the coronavirus as a whole through several technology and traditional restriction methods. I believe that Singapore is doing a very good job at such a hard time like this containing the virus, which allows for people to continue their lifestyles at phase 2. What I want to say is, even though the government plays a very big role like this in combating the virus, in the end, it will never work unless the people of the country work together and help. Majority of the people in Singapore wear masks at all times, practice social distancing, and maintain their hygiene. For example, my friend group is a group of 10 people, so every time we hang out, although this is kind of sad, we make a list of 5 people and split up the days and times where we can meet as 5. So we actually never got together as a whole because we want to follow the rules and regulations. This allows for us to be protected from the virus and have a very low risk of being infected. On social media, I've seen people complain about how wearing masks and keeping hygiene is difficult or disturbing their freedom, which I believe is absurd because that is a selfish act. Putting yourself at a high risk of being infected then makes the people around you also prone to the disease. Also, there are medical workers and scientists who work incredibly hard every day to combat this virus and keep us safe. So to show our gratitude, you should be following regulations and wearing masks. I believe that right now is not the time to be questioning the government's regulations or the power of the virus because our health definitely comes first. I really hope that people can work together as a whole to help fight against this virus. That's all I have for today. Thank you for listening. If you would like for me and Harriet to cover a specific topic, please leave a comment down below. Thank you.